What's the Church of Scientology so afraid of?
This is SPTV.
Oh, look, let's do this one instead. Cyril, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for taking me on.
This is an important interview. This is an important chat that we're having.
Yeah, I believe so. For me, yeah.
You know, it's hard to know where to begin.
Yeah. I can start from the beginning when I was born.
I feel like I'm already going to get choked up. All right, you start.
Well, yeah, my name is Cyril. I come from Switzerland. I was born there. I lived there until I was 15 years old. And after that, my mother had a bright idea to join the Sea Org. So we moved to LA. We were supposed to go, me and my little brother, we were supposed to go to the Inch Ranch. But that was in 2003. And when we arrived there, they said that the Inch Ranch doesn't exist anymore. They're trying to close it down. So they didn't take us in. So we were just hanging out. Me and my little brother, we were hanging out on Hollywood Boulevard in the Pack Base. And we're just skating around for like 6 months, just doing nothing. I didn't finish school. I didn't. Yeah, that was a bit. That was a bit rough. But we were lied to because our recruiters said we will go to the cadet org, and that didn't happen. And they knew it. They just had to get my mother over there as a stat push or for whatever reason. But for me as a kid, going to LA, it was like, oh yeah, I really want to go. Like I was a skater boy, and I always liked all the skaters that came from America. And I was like, yeah, they're skating there, they're skating here. Oh, let's go there. You want to sign the Seal contract? Yeah, sure. We're going to LA. Yeah. I think I was like 12 years old, 11 years old when I signed that contract, not knowing what it was. I remember signing it on a chair. Like I was on the floor, and I think she gave me the paper and like, you want to sign? And I just went on the chair and I signed, not knowing what the hell I was doing. And yeah. And
let me start. Let me ask you some questions and explain some stuff to our viewers.
Yep.
So like Scientology destroying families is my biggest button.
Yeah. And
I've known your family for a long, long time.
Yeah, apparently you do.
And your older brother Michelle.
Yeah,
is one of my oldest friends.
Sorry?
Is one of my oldest friends. Sorry. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so hold on. Your older brother Michelle, I knew from Flag. He's one of my oldest friends. Your older sister Corinne is one of the people I have the fondest memories of from Flag. And you and I have never met in person, but we've been in touch for a long time now.
Actually,
did we meet once in LA?
Yeah, it could be, man. Because I was there in PAC in 2003. Which you were in Asho, right?
Yeah.
And I remember also hanging out in Asho. And actually, we met some friends with some supervisors there. I remember 4 girls. They were really nice to us, to me and my brother. And because my mother was a recruit for New World Corps, which was an executive organization, we used to eat at the exec tables. But me and my brother didn't know anything about execs and ranks, and we didn't know nothing. We were just 2 little skater boys. And I remember we were just saying hi to everybody and like playing cool, and the people at the table were all execs, and they were kind of serious, and we were like, what the hell? And then I remember like we were having fun and saying hi at lunch break to those girls that we knew that were on the other side of the hall, and they were like just screaming and saying hi, and they were like saying hi back. And I think it was really embarrassing for the execs at the table. But yeah, basically we were there at the same time, but I don't particularly remember seeing you exactly. But I don't know if you ever remember seeing 2 skater boys around there.
Well, I mean, that would have been, I wouldn't remember something like that just at a lunch. And I'm sure my table wasn't necessarily I wasn't at the exec table per se. You were probably eating on the officer's side of the dining room.
Yes.
That's kind of, yeah.
Yes.
And I wasn't an officer, so I didn't eat on
Yes.
that side. And also you wouldn't have known me from Flag, so you wouldn't have been looking for me or anything like that. You didn't know that I knew your sister and your brother really well.
No idea.
And so just hearing through you though, over the last number of years, just the slow, yet another story of Scientology's dedication to destroying families.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also why I have decided to do this interview.
Yes.
It's just to show another example. I'm a second generation Scientologist, and both of my parents are OT7. And we'll talk about what a product I am, like what I've become based on Scientology teachings.
And who are your parents? Maybe some people in the Scientology bubble will put everything into context.
My mother, she's Cyril Chiquet. She's the FSMIC in AOSH Europe, so on the European side. And my dad is Gérard Chiquet. Never joined the Sea Org. My parents divorced when I was about 2 years old. And I haven't seen him very much. I can count under my 10 fingers how many times I've seen him when I grew up as a kid. I only got to meet him really when I left the Sea Org in 2009. And that's where I got to know him because I had nowhere else to go. And I ended up there.
Is your mom still in Europe or is she in Africa?
No, she's still here.
Do you and your siblings all have the same parents or some of them have siblings?
So, yeah, so it's a bit complicated, our family. But it's funny because it's very often like that in Scientology, right? People just marry and have kids and then marry again and have other kids. And it's just like so many brothers and sisters, but basically they're half sisters. So like you said, Michelle, Corinne and Fabian, those are my half sisters and brothers. They come from my father's side, and they are older than me. Then so I have a little brother. His name is Cherry, and I have also a bigger sister, which comes from my mother's side, but from another marriage. So, which is also a very interesting story on him. So my mom was first married to another dude and had my sister. That's Laura Chiquet, Laura Mervin, Laura Willie. She goes under 3 names. She's in the Sea Org. She is in LA. She is the SMP. She is working in the production. Cutting it short, she basically does all the Photoshop for David Miscavige. Apparently, she's her little Speedy. He calls her little Speedy. She's the one that edits him, his hair, making him look perfect like he wants. All the small details. And I actually recently found out that she got in trouble a few times because she made some small mistakes in Photoshop in regards to his hair or whatnot. Perfectionist he has, this dude. Yeah, so she is from my mother with another man. That other man is actually his name is Martin, and he's the one that introduced my mother to Scientology. So that's how it started. And while they were married, my father was married to another Scientologist where they had Fab, Cole, and Michelle. And some out 2D happened. And I came along. And then my little brother came along. And that didn't last long. 2 years. And then my mother decided to move away from Switzerland. I was living in the German side when I was born. And then when she got divorced, we moved to the French side. So we kind of like, not very far, but like some hours away. And there I didn't see my dad very much. And yeah, maybe a few times on the Christmas. I think he came once to visit. But, I was a kid, so memory is a bit difficult. But it was like under 10 times. And every time I ask about it, my mom was like, she wasn't so positive about him, to say the least. And that it's a bit fucked up to hear about your parents that you haven't met, some things that are a bit negative. I don't think it's cool. I just became a father 2 years ago, and bringing up my son has brought up so many questions about like about my past. And there are just certain things I can't put them together. I just don't get it. And I feel like a lot of ex-SOs and people that I talk to feel the same way. And I think as a parent, it's so I have trouble to put that in place. Like, why do you think that was okay to do that? And even if now with my wife, I said that example, if I get divorced for whatever reason, even though like she would be the biggest, I'm not gonna say a bad word, but I love my wife, huh? Don't get me wrong, we're good. But I would never talk shit about her to my son. Even if she cheated on me, even if she did the worst, it's just I don't think that's right. Your kid should not see you in that light. I mean, a person make mistakes. I have made mistakes. But my mistakes is not what defines me, and I shouldn't define a parent. So I think that's so wrong. And also, jumping a little bit forward, when I joined the CEOG in 2005 here in Copenhagen, I was in the CLO, Continental Asian office. I was actually posted in an LOHTU translations unit. And the first time I met our CEO, our commanding officer, Walter Coltrane, he was such a dickhead. I mean, I hate that guy. That guy gave me a lot of nightmares. But dude, this guy, he meets this little kid that's 14, 15 years old. And the first thing he says to me is like, your dad should be declared. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know my dad. That's what I told him.
That's what Walter said to you?
He said that to me. And he didn't say it on one occasion. He said it on several occasions. Your dad should be declared. He's this big guy and he's like always looking angry. Do you know him?
So, I mean, when I was in Scientology, I'd never went over to Europe. So I've never met Walter, but I know who he is for sure.
No, okay, no. Apparently he was in gold before he came to the Walter Coltrane. Australian Nazi. Yeah. Yeah, he's a Nazi. Dude, that guy ran CLO with fear and blackmail. This guy would threaten all the time. You don't get this done. You don't go to sleep. You fucking CIA dogs. Damn, like
just real quick for the listeners. What languages do you speak?
I don't master any of the languages. I speak Swiss German. I speak French. I speak English. I speak a bit of Danish because I live in Copenhagen now. And my wife is Italian, and her family doesn't speak English, so I learned Italian as well. It's not too far from French, so. But I can kind of get around with all of them, but I don't master any of them. Incredible. I would say English is kind of my best language at this point.
And was your wife ever in Scientology?
No.
Good for you.
Yeah. When I started to come out of Scientology, and I told my friends, hey, listen, I'm out of this, and I think you should educate yourself about it. They all thought it was her pulling me out. And they were like blaming her. She's the bad influence. And she actually had nothing to do. It was my little brother that actually got me to watch some documentaries, and that was like that documentary. It was the Aftermath documentary, and that one just like confirmed so many things that I was thinking. And some of the stories I knew, and it was just like, confirmation, and I was like, okay, that's it.
Yeah. So you mentioned the guy that your mom married that got her into Scientology. So when you were born into Scientology.
Yes. Yeah.
Were you born?
She was doing her levels in flag when I was 1.5 or 2 years old. I have a picture, one of the little baby in flag somewhere on the grass on the floor.
How old were you when your mom joined the Sea organization?
That was in 2003. So I was
in 2003. Okay. I
was 15, 14. I grew up in a couple.
And I might have jumped ahead from that part of the story. So like she goes to join the Sea Org. They convince her to bring you and your brother along with her. But what happened with you guys when she joined the Sea Org?
Nothing. I remember. So my mom actually, we were living in Lausanne, which is the city where I'm from. This is where I lived the longest time as a kid. And she went to Copenhagen to do her APF for 2-3 weeks. And she left us home alone, actually. No babysitter. We were just home alone. When we were 14, 15. I mean, she grew us up being very independent, so we kind of take care of each other. When I say taking care, is maybe not always what a parent would think is the best way to do things, but for her it was more important. So she wanted to do the EPF, and then she came back to Lausanne, and then she had to like get rid of her apartment and close all the things. And then we went to Los Angeles in October of 2003. And when we arrived there, we got separated, meaning we went into a dorms with some, I remember like 6 or 9 other people, bunk beds, like military style. And for me and my brother, it was really uncomfortable. It was like, oh, what's going on? I thought we were going to stay together. I thought we were going to go to this ranch where there's horses, and we were told all this beautiful thing about this ranch. But so we got separated, and then we were kind of hanging out in Pack at her office. The new old core used to be just beside the canteen. By Pack, before you go into the actual big blue buildings, there was kind of some office space on the right side. So we were just hanging there in the office, and then sometimes we would skate down L. Ron Hubbard Way. And once was the CEO West US. She came and kind of blasted my mom for letting those 2 kids skating on that street. We had no idea who she was. When we went to LA, I had no idea who David Miscavige was. I mean, I saw him on events because we always went to events when I was a kid. So but I had no idea about the structure and really what is Scientology, what does it really do, what is the whole thing. So we were just so innocent and just doing our things, getting along and skating and saying hi to everybody, even if there was super executives. We didn't put the dots together.
So did they send you back to Switzerland at some point or something like that?
No, we just
You guys
hanged out, man. We really just hanged out. We were just skating. Then we went alone. We went to the $1 shop to buy some food and just hanged out in the building at the AB, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that where you guys lived, at the AB instead of the main building?
Yeah, we were in the AB.
So, but like, how many years did you stay in LA for?
About 6 months.
And then what happened after 6 months?
They sent us to Copenhagen because in Copenhagen we still had a cadet dog here.
Oh, did your mom stay in LA or did she go to Copenhagen as well?
They moved her to Copenhagen too. She was still in New World Corps in Copenhagen.
Oh.
So we came to Copenhagen, and we had there was still a little cadet dog here. I think like 7 or 9 kids. But the whole plan was that we were going to go back to LA. So we were just there temporary. I think until I do my EPF. So I joined the Sea Org, but that never happened.
Okay, so then how long were you guys in the cadet org there before some major change occurred?
I was, I think, 1 year and a half. So I was like 15 by then. I'm a slow student. I was learning English. I didn't want to go do the EPF. I knew I was going to be forever on the EPF with the courses. I was not a good student. So I kind of did the cadet dog as much as I could. Also because I was able to make good money in the cadet dog. Funny enough.
What were you doing?
I was doing laundry for Sea Org members. And we were making pancakes to sell to the Sea Org members that were coming home at night starving. And we had like our own income, basically.
Really?
Yeah. And we were making good money. I mean, I'm Swiss. I like money. So I when I saw an opportunity to make money, I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I got the whole cadet involved, and we were doing good. And we were actually, at one point, we were making more money than the Sea Org members. And that was kind of funny. I mean, not that it was much. Sea Org members were making 50 crowns, which is less than $10.
Wow. A week?
A week.
Wow.
That's not much. But for us, being kids in a cadet, yeah, it was good.
So then what happened?
Well, pressure, joined the Sea Org. So in May of 2005, I joined. I started the EPF, and I did my whole EPF in M7, which is Method 7, which is a way of studying where you read out loud with someone in front of you, and any words you don't understand, instead of looking up in a dictionary and going through a long chains, which I hated, the person in front of you explains to you the word, and then you just move on. So it goes a bit faster. So I did that my whole EPF, and I think I did it in 3 or 4 months. And then I was posted in LOHTU, which is L. Ron Hubbard Translations Unit. And I became, I was supposed to go to CMO, but I did not want to go to CMO.
How did you get out of it?
I knew how tough it was and how they didn't have much freedom at all, and it was strict, and they were working late hours, and I was like, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want that. I know it was very difficult for them to take a day off, and it's like, no. I was like trying to avoid that. And so, yeah, how do I avoid that? I don't know. They said I needed production record. So that's why they put me in TU, to build up my production record. So I have some stats to show, whatever. I became the routing and tracking officer in TU, which means is the dude that I was kind of the connection between Gold, the in base. They would send the English materials to me. I would then put them on the production line, which means we were translating in 15 language at the time. So I would like make the files ready, make all the administration ready, and basically give them to the people that were going to translate them. And then I had to track them, from like translating, proofreading, editing, typesetting, and like through the whole production line. I had to know which each product was. And then send them to Bridge or to New Era Publication. And I was also responsible for that.
So at this time, you're what, 15, 16 years old?
Yep. Yeah.
And you're working 110 plus hours a week doing translations and materials.
I did the basic evolution. The basic books.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there.
The translations of those bad boys?
Well, I don't translate. I was the writing and tracking officer. So that was an evolution. We're talking about day and night. So yeah, we worked a lot. Yeah, that was. Yeah.
What about your little brother? So he was in the cadet org with you. You joined the Sea Org.
Yes.
Was he still in the cadet org?
Yes, he was. He tried. He was also pressured to do the EPF, and he went on the EPF, and he was there for a long time. I don't know how long he was, but he didn't make it. So he went back to the cadet org, and in the cadet org he was just doing the cadet org stuff. And I think at the time the cadet org was like getting less and less a kid. I think they had like 4 kids left or 5 kids left. It was way more chill and less control. And he was kind of wandering around, and he has an interesting story. See if he will say it one day. It's up to him. But he was basically kicked out by our I don't know why I say our, but the security chief from EU. Is this tall black guy? Good person.
Do you remember his name?
We called him the Black Shadow. What was his name? If you said, I will remember it. Was it Maxime? No, I don't remember.
It wasn't Laurent, was it? Laurence?
No, I don't think so.
You'd remember, right?
Yeah. Well, my memory with names is not the best, especially things that I'm trying to forget. But yeah, basically, he confronted my little brother one day. He took him in the office and started to blast him and say, "You will never survive in the outside world. I don't even give you 2 weeks in the outside world, and you will come back begging for food and stuff." And my brother was like hardcore. He looked at him and said, "When does this 2 weeks start?" And he fucking flipped out. The security guy flipped out. Like this little kid answering to him. And he kicked him out basically that day or the next day. And my mom didn't even know about it. My brother was like 14, 15. No education, no school. We didn't finish school. We have nothing. So he was out. He was out in the street of Copenhagen to figure it out by himself. And luckily he had some friends that kind of left the Sea Org, but not everything worked out, and he was a bum for a bit. He was an actual bum.
So they kicked a minor child out onto the streets without his parents' knowledge, with no care, no guardianship, no resources.
I have no idea when my mother was informed about it. And whenever she was informed about it, if it was a day after or a month after, she didn't do anything about it.
Wow.
Yeah. Funny story is that I didn't know he was a bum either. I was in the Sea Org. And one day I was on my leaving writing form. I wanted to leave the Sea Org in 2009, 2008, 2009. Took me a year to get out. He told me he found a place to sleep in a very luxurious hotel in Copenhagen by the harbor. He found an attic. He managed to crawl up in the attic, and there were full of mattresses in the attic, and he would sleep there. And he says in the morning at 6 a.m. there was like some croissant left in the corridor, and he would take that to eat, or like hiding, and nobody knew that he was sleeping there. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. And at the time, you have to think that I was still like a believer in Scientology and all that. I wanted to get out of the Sea Org, and I wanted to get out on good terms. And I was like, my God, if somebody finds this out, it's going to be a huge flap, and it's going to be in the newspaper. It's going to be really bad. And so I said, you know what? Come and sleep in my room. Because I was married. I had my own room in the Sea Org. And we sneaked him in. And he slept in my room. My wife was not sleeping with me at the time because we were under separation order, because I wanted to leave the Sea Org. She wanted to leave the Sea Org. They separated us. And in actual fact, I was so long on the writing form to leave that my wife gave up on the leaving, and she did her conditions to be back in good standing, because it's shitty to be on the writing form for so long. You're doing mass work, you're doing labor, physical labor, and they pressure you. And at the end, psychologically, you're like, okay, fuck it. I'm just going to do my condition. I'm tired of this. I want to have kind of a normal life. And then she was sent on mission. So actually, I was alone in my room. So that's why I got my brother to come, and he was sleeping with me. And I told him, hey, just so you know, I'm also leaving the Sea Org, blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to. And I would go snatch some food at dinner time or lunchtime and bring it up for him, a plate of food. And he lived there for, I don't know, a few weeks. Then I was like, one day I came to him and said, listen, I'm finally going to get my SEC check, because the whole thing was like getting that SEC check to leave the Sea Org, and they wouldn't give it to me. They wouldn't give me the SEC check. I think after 7-8 months, I got my SEC check, and I said, hey, it's probably going to come up that I sneaked you in and you're sleeping in here. So I had some savings. I had some money. I had like 200 Swiss francs. And I gave it to him. I said, take this money, take a train, and go to Switzerland. Go to our grandparents. And he was like, okay, good. So I gave him money. He took his bag and he took a train. He went to Switzerland, and he went to my grandparents. And then he stayed there for a bit. And then he finally got in contact with our dad. And then he went with the dad. And then, he will have to tell you the story if he's one day, if he wants to say it. But he didn't have it easy. And I think I was looking back like today about it. It's super fucked up. Like, I cannot imagine having my kid to go through that. Like, and and my mom knew at one point, and she did talk to him and said, oh, is everything okay? And my brother had to pretend that everything was okay. Yeah, it's all good. I got a job and this, and it wasn't always true. And I don't want to justify why he lies, but we were brought up in a way that early on, you understand that putting troubles on your parents' line is the last thing you have to do, especially in the Sea Org. And I don't know what else I can say about that. It's just, you kind of do it sometimes unconsciously. Unconsciously, you kind of do that sometimes. You just like justify it. And you're like, yeah, no, but I don't want to stop her from clearing the planet and all that. And I don't want to be a dev-T, develop traffic. So, yeah. And then actually, while he was in Switzerland, I had no idea where I was going to go to. I mean, I had nothing outside. I had nothing. I was like, I just have to get out. I'm going to take it one step at a time. I did say, I'm probably going to go to my grandparents, but I knew I was not going to survive there. I mean, my grandfather was like a military guy. I love my grandparents. They were the best. They gave me so much love and the sense of real family. But I only saw that after. I only realized that later in my life. And they passed away sadly. But then Cherry told me, hey, you can come to Dad. He's building a house and we can help him. And I was like, cool, awesome, let's do it. So I went to... I kind of blew at the end, actually. I'm sorry, I'm jumping stories here, but
No, it's okay.
The Sea Org never wanted to let me go. They did not want to let me
So
go.
even after the sec check and everything, they still didn't want to let you go.
Yeah. I got my sec check. I came clean. Like, I started the sec check, like, okay, I have those big 3 overs. And like, I just said it, you know, I want to get this done and over with, you know. I was like, dude, I was so innocent and such a good boy. If I think about it today, I'm like, damn, boy, I should have done this and I should have done that. No, I, you know, like, sec check was done in like 2 days. And I was so innocent. I had nothing to say. But they didn't want to let me go. They were they couldn't accept the fact that I was so determined that I wanted to leave, because many SEAL members, they originate, I want to leave. They go to semester work, ethics program, they do the whole thing, they get tired, they get pressured, okay, they stay. And these cycles happen like 2 or 3 times, 3, 4 times, until finally on the 5th time, they're like, okay, just go. And I've seen that so many times. Actually, my ex-wife, the one I was married in the Sea Org, it was like her 3rd time she wanted to leave, or her 4th time. And she was in CMO before. So I was really determined. And then they're like, oh, you're out int and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, she was like, okay, let's do a check. If I'm out int, I'll do the processes, I'll do the procedure, whatever you want. I was talking to the DCO CLO. So I was not even talking with the ethics officer. It was like above. And I was telling her, she didn't want to let me go. And I was telling her, okay, I want to do this check. If I'm not out int, I'm out of here. And you sign my fitness board. And she's like, deal, promise. I did the check. I was not out int. She didn't sign it. Weeks went by. You know, I did all my ethics programs. I did everything. And funny enough, when I was doing like my ethics program, I cognited, it's the best thing for my dynamics is to get out of here. For my first dynamic is better. For my second dynamic is better. For my third, like, I was like, it makes sense. Like, it just reconfirmed that I had to be out of here. But they didn't like that.
Wow. Would maybe some people know who you're, be familiar with your ex-wife? Do you want to say who she is, or you don't?
Yeah, her name is Lorena Laveder. She born in
she from a Scientology family?
Born in the Sea Org.
Oh, wow.
She's
What's
Italian.
her last name?
Laveder.
Laveder. Okay.
Yeah.
And to the best of your knowledge, she's still there.
Oh yeah. Oh. No, in the Sea Org, no. She's still in Scientology.
I got it.
I'm gonna roll back just to the story of how I got finally out of the Sea Org.
Yeah.
So after all this deals and agreements I had, if I was not out int, they would sign my fitness board so I can leave. She didn't sign my fitness board. Her name was Laura. She was the DCOI at the time, German lady. I was so upset with her. She's out of the Sea Org now, actually. She got a family of her own. I would like to ask her a few questions. She wouldn't sign my fitness board, so I decided to wait a little bit. And then one day I get called in by the ethics officer, and she gives me a whole new program to do. And I was like, I blew inside of myself. I blew up. And there was this e-meter in front of me on the table, and I was about to take it and smash it on her face. Because I'm telling you, I was so upset. This was 9 months. 9 months had passed since I wanted to leave, and I had several conversations with her. I did all the ethics program. I did all what they wanted. And I did, I had a lot of conversation with her. And then she had the balls to tell me, tomorrow, you're going to go to the kitchen, and you're going to do this, and you're going to go back on this program, and I want you to do this ethics program. And I'm like, don't you guys get it? I want out of here. I'm done. I did my sec check. I did everything. I wanted to take that meter and smash her. But I kept it inside, and I decided I'm out of here. Next day, I took a backpack, and I walked out. And I never turned back I just walked out. I basically blew, even though I did my sec check, so it's kind of like a half blow.
I want to explain a little thing to the audience real quick. Because like what they have over you is, even if you've already jumped through all the hoops we've asked you to jump through, unless we give you the final stamp of approval, you can't leave unless you want to be expelled from Scientology and lose everyone you've ever known. That's just what's hanging over the heads of every Sea Org member, every staff member, every Scientologist.
That's exactly right. And that's why
Unless
I
you-
wanted to leave in a good standing. I was willing to
Yeah.
do the writing form. I didn't want to have enemies. I wanted to be, but at the end, they pushed me so far that, dude, I was so innocent. Today, I would have walked the day after, or like, I don't know, I would have done so many things differently. I was just so nice. I was just so nice. You know, even while I was in ethics, I was doing mess work, so labor work, and they needed somebody in TU. So in the translations, they need to do some work. So I agreed to go even back on post and do some important work. In exchange that they would give me that sec check, but that never happened. Actually, the only way I got my sec check was by pissing off Laura, the DCOI. I don't remember what I told her, but I told her something, and she got really angry. She's like, "Okay, you have withholds," and she's like, "Okay, put this guy on a sec check." Like, you had to get that far for me to finally get a sec check. I had to like trigger it out of her, you know.
Do you remember her last name? I mean, I know many have many different last names, but
I can look it up.
Oh, no, I'm just wondering. It's okay. I was just wondering. Casually interested. So at this point that you've already done everything they asked you to do, they won't give you final approval to leave. You're like, I'm out of here. You're still married, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're still married.
Yeah.
You're potentially, so you're losing your wife. You know, in your mind, you're losing your family, your Sea Org family, your Scientology family, and this is like Scientology just makes all of its own enemies.
It does. It's crazy. But yeah, like if you look at all the people that are speaking out against or telling the truth, I don't like to say against, because they're just telling their stories. I'm telling my story. My story is truth. They don't like that truth. It doesn't mean I'm against it. It's just the truth. But 98%, 99% of the people that have something to say about Scientology are people that were in the Sea Org, that were in Scientology. So you got to ask yourself, you got to ask questions. Like, you got to be a bit more critical thinking, and like, how come all those enemies come from within and not from outside?
And you've probably heard me say it a million times. Hold on. Someone's trying to call me, and I'm doing all this on my computer, so I got to silence that. Okay. I say this a million times. How badly Scientology has to treat people who've already dedicated their next billion years to doing nothing but working for Scientology. How badly Scientology has to treat these people to make them leave is astonishing.
Yeah.
And yet they still do it.
Yeah. I can't wrap my head around it, because I'm like, are you guys dumb or what?
So,
I can also tell the story of why I decided to speak out today. It was pushed by Oza. Oza created the mess. They kind of forced my hand in one way to yeah. I know we're jumping around, but
no, that's okay.
I'm finding out that I'm getting declared. I'm getting even though I told them I'm not a Scientologist anymore. I want nothing to do with it. If you want to do Scientology, that floats your boat, go ahead. But I would tell you, get educated first. Like, look at both sides a little bit, and then make your own decision. And if that's what you want to do, go for it. Makes you happy, great, man. I mean,
so Cyril, let me bridge one little gap here.
Yeah.
Because we're going to jump forward to what's happening in present time. But a lot of people are going to wonder, okay, so you walked out of there with your backpack against the rules. A lot of people are going to assume you would have gotten declared a suppressive person right then and there. What happened at that point? However you want to summarize it. If you want to go from that point to present, or whatever you want to do.
Yeah. I walked out of it was in Copenhagen, right? So I walked out. I had a good friend that was out of the Sea Org, living in Copenhagen, and I knew where she lived. She was actually the one taking care of me in a cadet org. She was our cadet IC. She's a very nice person. Her name is Stephanie Underhalden. She saved me in many ways, and I'm very grateful for her. I would have never stayed in the cadet that long if it wasn't for her. but in a good way. She was a good teacher. She understood me. She took care of me. And she had her own problems, and she left the Siog, and she had an apartment in Copenhagen. So I went to her because I was the only person I knew, and I just showed up at her doorstep, and she wasn't home, so I just waited until she came home in the evening, and then she was surprised to see me, and she's like, "What's going on? I gotta tell security. I mean, I have to tell them. I can't." And I'm like, "Oh God, yeah, okay." So she writes to security, actually to a friend of mine that was working in security. And he's a cool guy, and we told him the situation. We told him, listen, he knew I wanted to leave. That security guy knew I wanted to leave. I asked for his help many times to get out of the Siog, because apparently, no, not apparently, there's a flag order which says that if somebody wants to leave, they have to be out of the base in 48 hours. There's an actual policy, and I was trying to get that applied, and he was trying to help me with that. And so Stephanie writes an email to him saying, listen, Cyril showed up on my doorstep, and what should I do? He did do his tech check. He did do his steps. It's just that didn't give the final okay. What should we do? And he knew I was trying to live really hard. Like I was constantly writing to him, and he was really cool. He said, you know what? Keep him there, and we'll see until somebody realizes that he's gone.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because when I was in ethics, I was doing dishes in different. I was doing dishes in New Era, then sometimes I need dishes in wherever, Northern or whatever. I was just like doing mess work in different places, and sometimes I would be on post. So I was kind of always a little bit around. Nobody really had control on me, and which I kind of liked it. I could have said, yeah, I had to do mess work there, or I was in Corona and I had to do mess work there. Corona is where we were sleeping. That was the name of our building. So yeah, they didn't realize that I was gone. It took them 2 weeks to realize that I was gone. Even though the day before, the ethics officer told me, tomorrow you show up here, we have a master, and you're going to start your program. I didn't show up that next day. It took them 2 weeks to know that I was gone, and they found out because my wife was pulled into an ethics interview. And I told her, listen, I'm leaving tomorrow. Don't say anything. But yeah, I'm out. So
your wife kept it a secret for 2 weeks that you were gone?
Yeah, she managed to keep. Yeah, basically, she had an ethics interview and it came up there, and only because of that they found out.
Oh my God! You know, there's so many takeaways from that whole. They didn't realize you were gone for 2 weeks, and one of the takeaways that I take away is how intent they were on manipulating you and gaslighting you and holding on to you when, truthfully, they didn't need you and didn't particularly give a shit. They just didn't want to give up somebody.
Yeah, they didn't. My theory is that they're like, we cannot let this guy go on the first try that he wants to leave. Usually people try to leave 1, 2, 3 times and then, okay, fuck it. But I was so determined. No. It's the first time I originated and I wanted to get out of there. And I think they just couldn't accept that. And LOHTU was on hot fire because it was being micromanaged by David Miscavige. So, and I was the routing and tracking officer, meaning not that I was important, but I was kind of the liaison between Gold, TU, and the printing facilities. And yeah, I was kind of on those lines. And I think they needed people in TU. It was always the problem with staff. So getting rid of somebody that they needed was annoying for them, for sure.
Wow. Okay, so that answers the question as to why you didn't get, declared right then.
That's right. Then after 2 weeks,
let's just refresh it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm jumping. It's just so many things. Yeah, so when they found out that I was gone, they didn't do anything about it. Security wrote to me, said, okay, listen, they found out and it's fine. You can go to Switzerland now. Because I had to wait in Copenhagen before I could go to Switzerland just because that had to be settled first. So once I found out that it was okay, I took a train and I went to Switzerland. And then I went to my dad and my brother to try to start.
Wow. Okay, so refresh everyone's memory. What year was that?
I walked out of Corona, which was the birthing, on the 1st of June, 2009.
2009.
I'll never forget that day.
Is it Is it accurate to say that since then you've had no official involvement in Scientology, or did you ever get back on course, finish your conditions, pay your debt, or anything?
So I was too good of a boy. I was too good of a boy. So at the time, I was like, okay, something is wrong with management. I thought management was fucked. We were being micromanaged by COB. Like David Miscavige was micromanaging LOH TU because it was his little baby. The basics was his little baby. He was like reading all the books himself. Like he would write us letters almost every day, and they were being read out loud. And actually, funny thing is, one of the big things that made me like, okay, I'm out of here, is that I really believed when I joined the Sea Org, I started to really understand the cause. I started to understand all this organization, what did they do, what's the purpose, what Hubbard meant. Before that, I had no idea. And I was like, okay, we're on a mission here. We have to save the planet. You know, I was all into it. I didn't know better. I was an innocent boy that was told this since I was born. So, but then things didn't make sense, like around me. And then in the organization, like I told you, Walter Coulthard, he was always like threatening and blasting, and was so much screaming all the time, and just like, okay, but this guy is OT, and like, why is he behaving like this, and why does he have to blackmail us to work and do our production, and why we have to go on rice and beans, and why is our Abstead award taken away, or why we don't have our CSP time on Saturday morning, or why is our pay being not given? You know, fucking 50 coins is nothing. And I was like, okay, we're gonna do the basic evolution. We're gonna put the basic books out, and this is just gonna rocket Scientology. Everything is gonna go in place. Everything is gonna go better. I'm like, we're gonna have good pay. We're gonna have what LOH said we should have, $50 per week. We're gonna have better birthing conditions. We're not gonna be sleeping with 12 people in one room. We're gonna have better uniform. Like I was wearing the same shirt, like two shirts every day for years. Like I just think the standards would just, you know, everything would be all right. Everything would just be how it should be, how it was meant to be. And after the basics were released, nothing changed. Months, nothing changed. And then one day we got a letter from David Miscavige, and it was read out loud that we made more money in Scientology with the basic books than the last 10 years combined. And that hit me. That hit me. And I was like, what? So you're telling me that for the last 10 years combined, we now made more money just with the basics, with what we just released? Then why is not anything else improving? You know, why is not our food better? Why is so many questions? And that hit me, man. That hit me, and I was like, yeah, that's not right. That's not right. And that was months and months after the basic release. This was the sales evolution, where we're going through selling the basics hardcore.
So he was basically saying, in the last 3 months, we've made more money than in the last 10 years.
Combined, yeah. That's what he was
saying. Nobody was being rewarded. Nobody was being given more freedoms or liberties, or like you said, more uniform parts, you know, better food.
Just the standard. Just the standard. The standard is really low. Okay, like for a first world country, Denmark is one of the top 10 countries in the world, standard-wise, like with everything, work, healthcare, I mean, in general. And here we are, Sea Org members. I'm not gonna say we were like in the jungle or like the poor people in, I feel bad saying the word Africa, but you know, you get the idea. Just people that don't have a nice city or like some basic stuff. But yeah, we were quite low. It's, I would say, borderline, quite some violations there, human rights violations and stuff. So for me, it was like, yeah, okay, then where's the money going? Where's the money going? I was always like, okay, where's the money going? I was always about money. No, not always, but that was like a big thing for me. Okay, something is wrong here, and I gotta get out. And another thing that also, actually, funny enough, David Miscavige came to see TU one day. It was after an IS event, because usually when he's in the UK doing IS events, he hops by and does some inspections here in Europe. Not always, but he came that time, and it was the first time I saw him in person. He walked in. My office was actually the entrance of the whole translations unit. So I kind of saw him walking, and it was Walter Coulthard behind. So have to imagine Walter Coulthard. I don't know if you have a picture of him, but he's huge. He's a big guy. He's a big Austrian guy, big face, and he always looks angry, and he's a heavy dude, and he's scary. I mean, and he was always blasting us and like threatening us, and like I was scared of him. Many kids in the cadet was really scared of him. So when I saw him walking in behind Miscavige, and Miscavige is a small guy. He is small. He was this little guy walking. He had his entourage, and he have this. I never seen Walter like a little puppy. And he was like, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And I was like, "Weird." I mean, this is like he was always this big tough guy, and here he was like a beaten dog. He was like a beaten dog, and I was like, "That's weird. That's so weird." And we had a problem in TU where we lost a lot of files on the computer just because we didn't have a proper IT system. We lost some important files. So it was a big flap, and like, okay, we gotta make a server, and we gotta make backups, and Walter Coulthard was like blasted by COB for that we lost some files. So he had to get donations from publics, probably people that had to make up conditions and whatnot, to basically buy a server and make a small IT infrastructure and have some backup in case something happens. I mean, this is basic stuff in any company, in an IT company with files. I didn't know that at the time. I have a bit more experience now. But I'm like crazy. Like, why did not Scientology pay for that? I mean, it's very important to have an IT system that works. No, they had to get donations from publics to do it. And he got it done. And we're talking about a very small room with a small server, not anything huge. And when he came with COB, he was so proud to show him, "Oh, and so, and here's the server," and he was opening the door, and we did all this, and everything is backed up. And I was looking at him, and I was like, "Damn, he looks like a beaten dog." And like, this guy is this big guy, and I was always scared of him, and he's so tough and all that. And in front of him, he was like a nobody. And for me, that was another huge red flag. I was like, something is not right there. And also because Miscavige was micromanaging LHTU all the time, there were letters going back and forth, and COCMO was there, and we even had a ASI, the deputy ASI, Javier Ruiz. You know him?
Yes,
he was there. There's another story about him. He got in
he's
trouble.
out of the Sea Org now. You know that, right?
He got demoted. So he was like the highest guy in the base, right? Deputy ASI. I mean, he was like God. I mean, for Sea Org members, we're like, oh.
So now hold on. What was Javier's post?
He was the deputy ASI.
What does that mean, deputy ASI?
Instead of being the CEO, he was just a deputy. He was just under the CEO.
Of ASI, Author Services, or IAS, or ASI, or IAS?
ASI. If I remember right, it was ASI.
I didn't know ASI had a presence in Europe. I mean, it makes sense that they would, but it's never even occurred to me.
It never had. He came out of the blue.
He just came. Oh, so he was like the DCO ASI or the DED ASI.
Yeah.
But so from the US, he just happened to be in Europe.
I don't know why he was there, but he was there, and he was working from the CMO offices, and he was like the highest dude on the base, and everybody was like, sir, and like he was like, and one day to the next, he was on Mestwork in New Era, in the printing area, and it was like, what's going on? Why is he now with the printing machines? Apparently COB was not happy with him, and something happened there. I don't know the full story.
Question from one little dedicated Scientology staff member to another back then. Did it make you wonder why in the world? Like, I don't know what your knowledge at that time was of the whole Scientology hierarchy between the CLOs and middle management and international management and CMO and WDC. Did it jog anything in your mind? Why is David Miscavige bypassing all of the echelons of management to directly issue orders into the translations unit in Europe? Did that cross your mind back then?
Never.
Okay.
Never. And never. Today, I'm like, he's doing the agent conditions full blast. He's violating his own policies. Like, this is like this is really bad. Like, if you follow policies of Hubbard, this is like, do not do that. But he's doing it constantly. Micromanaging, bypassing.
Now, today, the answer would be more like those echelons don't exist anymore. But back then, we at least think they did.
Yeah. But I never questioned it because I was dedicated, and I was like, he's the best. He's doing everything himself. He's putting it, you think like that. when you're in a group, like that, it's almost impossible to think outside the box. It's almost impossible to think critically. And another thing weird that happened once the basic books were released, it was this huge event, like we're making history, and there was so much talk about how the people, I think it was in Flag, right, the event when they released the basics, how they were talking about how the whole crowd felt a relief after this event. And for me, that was like, what do you mean? Like, that's an out point. I mean, it's a red flag. Why a relief? That means something was wrong before.
And it means everyone knew it and nobody thought it was safe to say anything.
Exactly. And that's what I thought. And I was like, if this can happen on such a big scale, there's more shit that can happen and nobody dare say anything. For me, that was such a red flag. I had the whole crowd was happy and finally you could feel this whole thing lifted and now it's going to work. And like, I thought it didn't work before. So when Hubbard was around, it didn't work. So you got this far, and it doesn't work. So you got to change it. And now everybody's happy because you said it didn't work. Because you acknowledged that it doesn't work. So everybody was, ah. So that was also a huge red flag for me. So I was actually still a believer in Scientology though, but in the management, I was like, it's fucked, it's corrupt, and I wanted out of the Sea Org. But I want to still be a good civilian. I still had the idea to do my bridge, go up the DOT levels, and all that. It took me 10 years to fully cognize that, like, it's not what it says it is.
So let me ask you this: at what point, at what year? So that's about 2009. You leave the Sea Org.
Yep.
How much time goes by before you're like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to participate in this anymore. I'm mentally out, even if I'm going to be nice and be quiet and stay under the radar. How much time went by?
That's a very difficult question to answer because when I left, I finally had access to the internet. And that was in 2009. And in 2009, yeah, there was the Truth Rundown, but I didn't know about it. I saw a couple of interviews with Mary Rathbun, and I was like, damn, something is fucking management. I was like, confirmation. So, my father is OT7, and I was around him. His new wife is on OT7. So, very dedicated Scientologist. My father is a very dedicated Scientologist. He has a story of his own, actually. The reason why I'm jumping around again, the reason why Walter wanted to get him declared, I only found out later when I spoke to him, is because my father, he was like a big, he was a real estate guy and he was successful and he had a lot of buildings and on paper, he was wealthy. Apparently, he was wealthy. And he decided to help the Basel org, the Basel organization, to get them a proper building. So he bought this building, which was good for them, and Scientology was supposed to pay rent to him. But I don't know exactly how many years or whatever happened. But at one point, the org stopped paying rent because they couldn't afford it anymore. And then he was being squeezed and he was paying himself because he had a bank loan for it. He had to pay the mortgage or whatever, how it works. But basically, he had to give some money back at the bank every month for having purchased this big building. And he had apartments on top of the org. So the apartments were rented, and the 2 first floor, which were quite big, were the org, which is where I lived when I was born. I was actually living on top of the org of Basel. And then he was writing to RTC and to all the execs or whatever up the line, hey, listen, I got a problem. I can't pay anymore. I don't have any more money to cover what the church should be paying me rent for. But RTC apparently never answered, or nothing was ever done about it. And he wasn't willing to sue the church because he knew we get declared if he was suing them. So the bank came and took over the building, and it became a huge flap. And that's actually why Walter hates my dad, and that's why he said he should get declared.
Oh my God. So the building gets foreclosed on because Scientology wouldn't pay the rent. The landlord's a Scientologist. The Scientologist can't kick Scientology out. He can't sue them. And your dad's the bad guy.
Yeah. That's right.
Wow.
Another rich Scientologist bought it and saved the day or whatever, but it was still a flop.
Wow. By the way, what year-ish would that have been?
Ooh, don't know.
But like before 2000, right?
Yeah. So we're talking about the
Okay.
90s. It must be the 90s. 90s, maybe late 80s.
Wow. Okay, so so a lot of time went by between when you left the Sea Org and when you said, I'm not really a Scientologist anymore. How about this? How many years has it been since you basically decided you're not really a Scientologist anymore?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
And you've been good. You've never spoken publicly. You've never posted things on Facebook. I mean, I don't know. I'm asking at this point because I forget.
Okay, we're really jumping. So 2018, I have watched all the Leo Remini and the Aftermath documentaries. And that for me was a nail in the coffin. It was like confirmation of things that I have observed myself and I knew were true. I just, when you're the only one thinking that, you're like, okay, but maybe I'm the only one. Maybe it's me that's wrong or maybe whatever. That for me was just like, God damn it. God damn it. I was like, we got fucked. Like, I was so pissed. But then I was like, okay, for me, it was a confirmation. I'm out. And the problem is that all my friends were Scientologists. I was still in the bubble of Scientology, the ex-SO bubble here in Copenhagen. I was still married. No, I was not married anymore. I just had gotten divorced with my wife that is still a Scientologist that I came out of the Sea Org with. She actually managed to leave after a month, after I left, which I was really surprised because they used her against me to try to stay. That's another story in itself. So I was still like, all my friends were like, yeah, okay. When I was in Switzerland, because I left the Sea Org, I went to Switzerland. I was trying to find a job. I was with my father. I was helping him build his house, which was great because it got me to, think a bit of freedom, breathe some air in the countryside. It really helped me, but I couldn't find a job. I had no education. I had no school. I had nothing. And in Switzerland, you need a diploma to clean toilets. I mean, it was difficult. And I had no experience of my CV. Like I remember my CV and I was like, it's embarrassing. Like, how do I write a CV? I had nothing. I was 15 years old, 16 years old, and I had no idea of anything. And my father wasn't very helpful. I say he's my father, but he doesn't qualify to be a father. He hasn't done much in my life to deserve to be a father. He did, technically it was his wife that kind of said, okay, let's take your sons here while they get back on their feet. But yeah, whatever. So I was struggling finding a job for a year in Switzerland, and Corinne, my half sister, she found me a job, and in Zurich, and it was a cleaning job, and it was in actually it's embarrassing. Maybe it was a cleaning job in a 4-star hotel at the Zurich airport. It was Radisson Blue. It was a very nice hotel, and I was working there as a cleaner. And nothing embarrassing about being cleaner, and nothing about that. It's just for me, it was a little bit embarrassing because I was the only guy, and I was the only Swiss. That was because I'm Swiss. I have a Swiss passport. I was the only Swiss doing that job, and I was being looked at crooked. Like people were looking at me sideways. And the people that I work with, foreigners and cool people, and I love them, and I had good fun, and like they're great. But they were like, "But you're Swiss. Why are you doing this job?" And I never got it. I never understood. What's wrong? What's wrong with doing this job? It was tough. It was really tough. I mean, we were being timed. We were being timed about cleaning each room, and the room had to be perfect. I mean, we're talking about a 4-star, 5-star hotel. It was tough, and I was like, after 5-6 months, I was like, I cannot do this for the rest of my life. I can't. I really.
And is that because in Switzerland, is it just it's normal for those jobs to be done by foreigners?
Yeah.
Ah.
Wow. Yeah, but during that time, I did my conditions. I came back in good grace. I paid my freeloader. Funny enough, the IJC called me up. Mike, what's his name?
Mike Ellis.
Mike Ellis. He called me. I had no idea who he was at the time. Okay, he calls me and he's like, yeah, so we would like you to come back in good standing, and I want to sell you the basic books, and we can make you a deal with the freeloader, and for you and your wife, and so then you come back in good grace, and like, you know, we're trying to reach. Yeah, I remember him saying this. We're trying to reach as much as possible to the Axio members to make sure that, you know, they're in good standing, so everything is good, that they don't go floating around to the bad side. At the time, I didn't think about it. Today, I was like, okay, I know exactly what he was doing. But yeah, it was Mike Ellis. And then basically he sold me the basic books. We had a good deal, and our freeloader was paid, and we got those basic books, which I never opened.
He was cutting you a deal so that he could sell you the books.
That too, yes. Yeah, yes. And to keep me in good standing.
Did he, you remind me, I forgot that something similar happened with me, but my phone call came from someone in OSA Int, not from Senior HCO Int. And they offered me this great deal on the freeloader debt and the conditions if I would just put the basics package for someone in Europe on my credit card, and they would pay me back later.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mike Ellis calls you because this is how he's selling books. Okay, so what happened? Is that how you paid your freeloader debt? Like, what did he do? Did he say, we'll approve your conditions? You're all good?
No, conditions, no. It was the freeloader for me and my wife, Lorena, at the time. So we got that done, and then I had to borrow money because I didn't have enough money. I borrowed money from my sister Corinne. I call her Cor, and she was nice to lend us money. And then in the hotel I was working and then paying her back, and I paid her back, and it was the done deal. And then I was like, I can't do this anymore, like, for the rest of my life. I just, like, I have so much respect for people that do it. It's tough. It's tough work. It's tough work. And I decided to come back to Copenhagen. And the reason for this is because I knew that in Denmark you could study for free. In Denmark, it's pretty cool. You actually get paid to study. You get a bit of money to study, to get an education. And the other thing is that I was not good in French. I was not good in English. I was not good in Swiss German to go in school in Switzerland. And I would have no idea where to go in Switzerland. I thought that because I didn't finish school and I was what was it? I was at 20, I don't remember how old was I, 2009. I can calculate now. Anyway, I was in my 20s, and I didn't know how the system.
What year were you born?
I was born in 88, so
21.
I was 21
in 2009.
Thank you. Yeah, so I didn't know how the Swiss system works. You know, probably I could have also made it in Switzerland, but I was afraid that I couldn't study in French. I couldn't study in Swiss German. I didn't feel comfortable, at least. So I was like, okay, in Denmark, I know I can maybe study in English, and it will be for free. So I decided to come back to Copenhagen. And I came back in Copenhagen in 2011. And that was tough because I didn't have an apartment, and we were sleeping on floors and sofas and friends' place, and it was tough. It was a rough start. And we had no job, and we were figuring everything out, and we were actually I was being put in a Danish school, and I started learning Danish, and I was being given a bit of money for doing that until I figured out what education I wanted to do. And then I found an education that I was really pumped about, and they were doing it in English. And I was an international IT supporter, so I would learn the basics of IT, networking, internet servers, and so forth, operating systems. And it was done in English, but the requirement was to have a school diploma. And I was like, I don't have one. And I was just praying that they would never ask for it, and they never did. They never did. And I got through that education, and that education was a part-time work and part-time study, like a practical thing. And I found a place to do a practical, and that actually, this is the turning point of my life. It was exactly at that time, and I met one of the I met one of the best leaders I ever had in my life so far. This guy, you know, that's why I started to have experience in the WOG world, like the outside of Scientology world. And yeah, I was a student. I worked, you know, fresh. I was working really well because, you know, I had the Sea Org mentality. and I had no problem to do extra hours and do the extra and like, you know, and I finished my studies. It took me 3.5 years, 4 years, and they decided to hire me, and I worked there. Not for the greatest pay, but it was the highest pay I ever received in my life. And he was such a good leader. That guy. I mean, I had a lot of wow moments when I worked in that company because I was like, wow, but in the field I would never be allowed to do this. Oh, I can leave earlier. Okay, oh, I can take a break. I can go take a walk and go and think a little bit. I was like, okay, oh, we got nice lunches and you know, like, okay, you can listen to music while you work, or you can. They were so chill. Oh, I'm working from home today. It's like, I'm like, the fuck you working from home? That would never be allowed anyway. Not in my world. So, but he was also a really good leader. Like, you know, if you fucked up, he wouldn't blast you. He'd be like, oh, okay, so how can we make it better? You know, like, and I was like, so, like, wow, like, okay, that's how you do things. And I realized, damn, those people work less than SEAL members, but they get more done. They get so much more production done than SEAL members. SEAL members, I say that today because now I've seen both worlds. SEAL members, most of them, I'm talking about 80%, 90% of them, they run with it. A chicken without heads. They're just running around and constantly looking busy, doing something, or they have a stupid system like the administration. Fill up, it could be made so much more optimized, it could be so much more productive. Or like if you had some proper IT structure, proper programming, proper hacking, doing things a bit more professional, but they're a bit behind on all that. And they're just like going on the really, really, really fast and just sweating. like that's not the smart.
It's crazy to look back on it and think that this organization never shuts up about how they have the only workable management system in this sector of the galaxy. And it's like, your organizations are small, they're failing, they're inefficient, and yet in the world you see all examples of wildly successful organizations, and yet it's still a perfect example of sort of the cult brainwashing, because Scientologists do truly believe they have the only workable management system, despite all evidence to the contrary.
It's extreme. I don't know how to explain this, but it's extreme, but it's there and it's happening. I mean, my mother, she's a good example. Like, she's a hardcore believer. She's dead. Like, if tomorrow Scientology will be illegal, she'll be in the basement somewhere still doing it. I had some conversations earlier with her. I just understood she was for her was priority number one. And looking at it back now with the way I grew up in our family, it was always priority number one. She was never home. She worked. Okay, she was a single mom with 3 kids. It's tough, but she was never home. She had 3 jobs, and then she would go to the org, and we would barely see her. And I can't remember. I don't have many memories of having a dinner together. She would just let us eat by ourselves, and sometimes it wasn't always the healthiest things that we were eating. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So you go through all that hell trying to leave the Sea Org. You get out of the Sea Org. You're being a good Scientologist. It's been about 5 years since you decided you're not really a Scientologist. How have we arrived here today where now you're about to be declared a suppressive person?
It comes back to the time I told my mom and my friends that I don't want to do I'm not anymore part of Scientology. That was in 2018. And there was basically I was labeled the black sheep. I wasn't declared yet, but basically all my friends kind of let me go, like didn't talk to me anymore, and wrote reports. I found out later they wrote chaos on me. There was only one friend that actually, for some reason, stood by me. She didn't stood by me, but like didn't decide to disconnect, and you know, and I respect her for that, because we had a conversation. We said, listen, she said, I want to do Scientology. It's my thing. And I said, no, I respect that. You're telling me you want to do it and don't want to talk about it, about what I know. Okay, you don't want to know. You don't want to know anything. That's cool, but we're still friends, so we can still do things. But the Scientology subject is off. I respect that. I have to respect that. So we still kind of had like a relationship not like a very close one. She was just a good friend. And she was the only one. And then the actual second thing that happened was in 2020, I think it was. My big dream was to own my own home, my own apartment, since I left the Sea Org, because I found myself very often on the floor of somebody's apartment, or I got kicked out of this apartment. Basically, I didn't have a home since I left for the Sea Org when I was 15 years old. I didn't have any more what I could call a home. So for me, it was a big dream to own my own home. So since I left the Sea Org, I was saving as much as I could. If it was $5 a month, that's what it was. I started somewhere. And finally, in 2020, I managed to buy my first apartment. And for me, that was like a huge achievement, and I almost couldn't believe it. It was hard for me to accept that I made it. I got there. It was really difficult for me to accept that. I'm not sure why, but I then met my second wife. She was also pregnant, so I was starting my own family, and I made an Instagram post about it. And in that Instagram post, I posted a picture of me and my wife. You can show it. I don't know if you have my Instagram, but in that post, I basically wrote a little bit of my story of how where I came from and how I got here. And part of it was that I was in a Sea Org. And I would like you to read that post, actually, because it will put in the frame of mind of how Scientology is paranoid. They are so paranoid when somebody talks.
Is it this one?
No, it's the one where I'm leaning I'm leaning down. You see the apartment with the window in the back, and I think the kitchen on the left. I'm on a knee.
Okay, hold on, let me find it. Is it pretty far back?
No. I have not been very active since then. It actually must be. Let me have a quick look here.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
The 10th post.
There's no caption though.
No, because I couldn't. It was
you just want me to show the photo?
You can go and then show the text as well. I couldn't put in a caption because it was too long, so I had to put it into pictures.
Oh, okay, good. Hold on, I'm going to share.
There was a limit of how much I could write in the caption.
I totally get it. Oh, let me see. Let me get our big faces out of the way. Dadgummit. How about shoot. How about this? I'll just show it. How's that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me see if I can make it a little bigger. Nope, it wants to keep the photo that size. Okay. Do you want to read it, please?
No. Can you read it, please?
No. I won't be able to.
All right, I'll go for it. I was 15 years old when my mother brought my brother and I to the USA, where she joined the Sea organization. This was the last time we had a home. From 2003 onward, we lived communally with 5 to 12 other males in a single room. So that was the Sea of birthings. It was weird at first, but we got used to it. We didn't see our mom much. She was working from 9 to 11 every single day of the week, and she slept in her own dorm, so we were not together. We ended up in Copenhagen, and I too joined the Sea organization at 17. I too worked every single day from 9 to 11, sometimes even more. My food and bed were paid for, and I was getting about 100 crowns a week. We got upgraded from 50 crowns to 100 crowns at one point. By the age of 21, I left the Sea organization. I had no home to go to. I had no money. I didn't have any education, nor did I even complete basic school. In fact, I was in debt. I was required to pay back the Sea organization for the courses I had to take while being there. It was a rough start. Did you skip 2 pages? Yeah. I was lucky to have a friend which let me sleep on an inflatable mattress in her living room. A few weeks passed, and I took a train to Basel, Switzerland, to my father, which I didn't know very well. I can count on my fingers the amount of times I have seen him. He let me sleep and eat at his place until I got back on my feet. I stayed there for almost a year looking for work, but with no education, it wasn't easy. I got my first job as a cleaner in Radisson Blu, 4-star hotel at the Zurich airport. It was tough and embarrassing because between the cleaners, I was the only Swiss and male working there. We had 16 minutes to clean an entire room with bathroom. It was rough. I got minimum wage and paid back my debt to the sea organization. My sister was living with her boyfriend's family in a room which they let me sleep in. That was Fab. Fabian let me sleep with her in Zurich because my father lived in the countryside outside of Basel. So now that I was working in Zurich, I had to find somewhere else to sleep. So I was sleeping in her room in the floor. I was on the floor between their bed and desk. It was tight, but it was a start, and for that I was happy. Anything is better than nothing. A month later, my sister moved with her boyfriend into their own apartment, and I got to rent a room from her boyfriend's family. So I was living with her boyfriend's family there. So I didn't have my own apartment. I just had a room that I was renting out. 6 months later, and I couldn't take anymore. Cleaning was hard, and I couldn't see myself doing this my entire life. I decided to go back to Denmark and get an education. I did so, and again, I found myself sleeping on the floor of a friend's place. It was difficult. I moved a lot, got kicked out of places, stayed with friends that was working night shift and slept during the day. I stayed in 12 different places until 2014 when finally I was able to get my own rental apartment. My life was getting on track. I finished my studies, I got a job, which I was happy with. From day one, I started saving whatever I could. Money was a rare commodity in my world, and I didn't spend it easy. Every single coin counted. I did not go out, party, drink, or even eat out. I was in survival mode, and to certain degrees, still am today. My dream was to own my own apartment that I could call home and never be kicked out of. The only thing I spent money on was on traveling. I never traveled to see the world before, so this was my exception. And when I did travel, I did the cheapest way possible. Slept in rented cars, Airbnb instead of hotels. My motto was always, I'm a cheap motherfucker. Photography has been my passion since I was a kid. Skating around, taking pictures of my cool tricks. I picked up a camera again in 2015, and I started my own business in 2016 as a photographer. Studied the New York Institute of Photography course, and today I make a living out of it. I worked hard, saved all I could, like everything with persistence. One day you get what you worked for. And 2020 was the year it all came together. I finally bought my apartment. Along the way of my struggles, I met this beautiful, strange girl by pure chance. Pure chance it really was. We both couldn't ignore the energy in every glimpse we had in each other. I was too shy and inexperienced to attempt anything. Thanks to my good friend Nico, we got to know Ludo, which is my current wife, more, and here we are today. We are going to get married, and we are having a little boy in June. I am proud to where I have come alone. From here, I won't be alone anymore. This is our home now. My son won't experience what I experienced. I'll make sure of it. But I'll also won't always protect him from this world. It will be balanced. The one thing I will do is give him unconditional love, no matter what. This is what you need to face the world. Truly alone I was not. I had friends that helped me through my struggles, and they each know who they are. And I thank them for their help and sacrifices. Even if today some of them are no longer, some of them can no longer be called friends. I thank you. As for us, we shared the same struggles that seemed that no one else could understand. My doors will always be open for you. This is a very personal story I shared, and I didn't go into details nor the entire story. I share this not to get the pity or sympathy. That doesn't get you anywhere in life. I share this as a type of therapy for myself and to prove that staying true to yourself is the strongest weapon you will ever have. Life isn't made easy, and you have to fight for it. And no matter where you start from, you can change your life. Stay true to yourself. So, long story short, I made that post. And from that post, I got a lot of shit. From Scientology. It's when things started to go downhill. I didn't even mention the word Scientology. I said Sea Org. And it's a true, it is my story. And the story was about how I got a home and how I didn't have a home before. But they're so paranoid for every little minor negativity that they go crazy about it. So I started getting phone calls from my sisters, from my mom, and trying to take me down the post. And like, no.
I feel like it was after this post and all the shit that you got from this post, I feel like that's sometime around the time that you got in touch with me at first. Does that sound right? Because I feel like the first time we discussed, we talked,
It was later.
I feel like you told me about all this.
Yeah, but it was later. It was about a year ago now. So this was 2021. So it was about a year later that I got in touch with you. Well, touch. Nothing.
The
special.
comments on this post are incredible.
Yeah, and they were very nice, very touching, and it helped me. It helped me, but it didn't help me that my family was against it, and none of them understood the point of the post, but only saw it Scientology, and I was like, God damn it! I was like, get your head out of your ass. And I could have gone in details. I could have, like, if my point was to make look Scientology bad, oh boy, I would have needed more than just one post to do it. But I left a lot of details out. And the fact that they were bothering me hardcore with that, it really pissed me off. And they just want to control everything. And they were trying to control me. And that's when I had a lot of conversations with my mother. Suddenly my mom had time to see me and talk to me. And so we talked a little bit about my upbringing, a little bit. But yeah, I told her I can change it. Then at one point I said, I'm not going to take it down. Then so, can you edit it? I said, I can't edit it because it's a picture. And it was not on purpose. Huh? It's just because the text was so long I couldn't put in a caption. And then like, okay, but can you take it down and then edit it? It's like, if I do that, I'm reposting it, and it's just going to be another exposure. It's not the smartest thing. If you don't want me to have, and they're like, yeah, but you got 3,000 followers, and I'm like, and so what? I mean, it's 3,000. It's not that much. I mean, for them it was a big deal to have 3,000 followers. Yeah, whatever. They're like, it was a big deal for them. For me, it was not. And from there on, I was like, then I think I started to talk with Oza. Oza reached out to me. My mom kind of got Oza to reach out to me. And it is the first time I was like speaking with Wahida from Oza Europe. I know her from the Sea Org. I always got along well with her when I was in the Sea Org. She's super skinny. She doesn't look healthy at all. Always smoking and drinking coffee. Yeah. And then she's like trying to get me to, try to handle me. And I was like, no, at that point I knew too much. I knew way too much. And, and I was being polite with her. And I was like, listen, it's not going to be productive. I know what your job is. I know what your intention is. It's not going to get there. And she insisted. And then I was like, okay, I wrote down, I think, I don't know how many points, some things that like, okay, clarify this for me. Like, what is your story, your side of the story, even though I already knew their side of the story. What is your side of the story? Why is Tommy Davis lying on CNN saying that there's no such thing as disconnection policy? Why is Hubbard lying about his wife and his kids? Why? I don't know. I had some other things. I don't remember all of them. And she never answered that. And I was like, okay, good. A year went by. She never got back to me. I was like, okay, she understood. She understood that I knew too much and there was no point. And it was like I kind of understood, as long as I don't poke it more, things were beginning to fine. I could still see my mom. I could still talk to my family. Even though my relationship with Core has drastically changed because she was super hardcore about that post. She was calling me for hours and I wasn't speaking to my sister. I was speaking to a robot. She was trying to do her OT3 in South Africa, and it was a problem for her to continue. And I'm saying, I'm sorry, but I have nothing against you doing your OT levels. If that's what you want to do, go for it. But why is my Instagram post stopping you from that, from you achieving your goal? I'm not taking it.
This Instagram post, which is an inspirational story of success,
exactly,
was the reason they told your sister, I'm sorry, you can't do your next level until you handle your brother.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I don't know all the details about her side. I just know that after those hours and hours of conversation, and I was talking to a robot, in the Scientology world, you would say the RSC has broken, communication, reality, and affinity. Like, it's like, you're my sister, but there's no connection there anymore. The way you were speaking to me and what you were trying to get me to do was not you. I was not talking to a human. I was talking to a robot that didn't want to try to understand anything else but what she needed to be done. But I was still able to see my mom, and like, so as long as I didn't continue to speak out or I didn't do another move, I was kind of in contrary from that post. My mom actually was a bit seeing me a little bit more often. So maybe before she saw me once a year, suddenly now it was like 3 or 4 times a year. Also because I had a kid now. She was it's her first grandchild.
So what, would she get a liberty? She would just get a liberty every now and then?
I wouldn't say here that. No. She managed to take a few days off, 1 or 2 days from my son's birthday, her first birthday, and when he was born. She only saw him 4 weeks after he was born. It took a bit of time for her to come in. Even though she lives in Copenhagen and I'm in Copenhagen, it took 4 weeks for her to come and see my son.
My God.
My wife's parents were here all the time. Like I see her, my wife's parents that live in Italy, I see them more than I see my own mom.
And you still live in Copenhagen?
I still live in Copenhagen. Wow. Anyway, so I kind of understood that, okay, Oza knows that I'm on the thin line and they shouldn't provoke me, and now I'm not going to provoke them as long as I still have this connection with my mother and my family. But for some reason, and this is another example why Scientology always fucking shoot themselves in the foot. In April of this year, Oza started to, April of last year, Oza came back to me and started to try again. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't answer. I was super busy. I really wanna meet you. I'm like, no. What about you answer my first email? And then she didn't, and I was like, okay, she wanted a new email, so I gave a new email with even additional points. And I was a bit more. I had a bit more human reactions in that email. Not anything bad, but like in the first email I was very professional. In this one I was a bit more like, I got feelings, and this shit that's pissing me off. And then I said those. She never replied. And a few months go by, and then I hear the rumor that I'm about to get declared. I hear the rumor that my declare is on the lines to be approved. And also then my sister from LA, Lara.
I'm struck. I had no idea there was another sister. I had no idea there was another sibling.
Yeah, sorry. So why?
No, you mentioned her in the beginning. I just didn't bother to say that I didn't realize there was another sibling.
Yeah, she is the first daughter of my mother.
Okay.
Didier, Michelle, and Corinne come from my dad with another marriage. Lara, she comes from another marriage with my mom with another marriage with this guy called Martin, which introduced my mom to Scientology.
Okay.
And he got declared, and that's another story. He lost Lara when she was 10 years old. My mother took her away from him, even though he had the right to still see her per the law. But she just took her away. And Lara, there's a story in itself. I feel really bad for her because she joined the Sea Org when she was like 13, 14, very young. And she started in Copenhagen, and then she ended up in LA. And she never saw her father, basically. She doesn't know anything else but Scientology and the Sea Org. She's in SMP. She works... she basically works for David Miscavige in some direct ways by doing all these photos. She's the one that does all the photos in the magazines, all the ideal orgs. Wow. She does all.
Tell me one more time her full name, please.
So Lara Chiquet.
Oh, her last name is Chiquet. Or whatever, because if she's married, okay. I'm just shocked that I never knew her. Like, when did she go to? I was in LA from 2002 to 2006. Was she there at the time?
Yeah, she was in the ILO.
Oh, that's why I never knew anybody over there. Okay.
Yeah. So her real name is Lara Willie, because Martin, her father, is Willie, but because she didn't see him since she was a kid, she kind of became a Chiquet because she was living with us. She's my half sister, but I consider her my real sister just because she has been there since the beginning. And actually, there were talks about my father adopting her, but that never happened. But for some reason, in the Scientology world, she's called Lara Chiquet, even though in her passport, it's Lara Willie. She got married in Los Angeles, and she became Lara Merwin. She got married to a guy called Mike Merwin. He was working with lights or audio, I don't know what. She got forced to divorce him, actually, because he was not qualified.
Ugh.
So not only I was not invited to the wedding, they had a very quick ceremony, I think, on the rooftop of CC, or I don't know where. And then I think that after a year or a year and a half, she was forced to divorce him because he was not qualified. And I remember my sister calling me and telling me, oh, just by the way, so you know, we're not married anymore. And it sucks, but, you know, I got some sessions and it's okay. And, you know, deep inside of me, I was like, God damn it, this girl is so brainwashed. Poor her. She thinks it's like, it's okay. Just because he's not qualified. And it's like, wow. She was sad about it, I could tell, but she was trying to suppress the emotions. And she got sessions, so it helped. Yeah. So, and she stopped talking to me, and she used to call me, you know, once in a while, sometimes every 3 months, sometimes every 6 months. And actually at the end, she was calling me almost once every month. And the conversation were a lot of, you know, oh, we got this ideal org opened and this and that. And, you know, she's like super gung-ho and hardcore, and that's her world, right? She doesn't know anything better. She has on her desk, she had a picture with COB, with David Miscavige and her. That's what she has on her desk. She doesn't have a picture of family or her brother or her mom. No, she has him. So she's like 100% hardcore. You can say brainwashed. And I remember when she was calling me during COVID, she was like, yeah, it's messed up. Those SPs, they are doing this, and we have to stop them. And I'm like, oh my God, like this mentality and the way of talking is so like, it's so like a robot. It's a robot talking, you know. You've been told this. It's like you've been told that SPs outside controlling the world, like those are the enemies. You know, when I grew up, it was always us versus them. That mentality is so unhealthy. It's so damaging for a person. And still today, for me, it's fucked up. So yeah, and then she was supposed to come to my wedding. That's actually when we started to talk.
Yes.
I got married last year in September in Italy with my wife. We had a kid before, and she was supposed to come. And we were talking, and I bought her flight tickets because, of course, she can afford it. And yeah, but she'll pay me back. Yeah, no worries. Okay, cool. And but she didn't have the CSW yet approved. You know how it goes. Everything is last moment, especially for her. It's almost impossible to get free. I mean, the last time I saw her was 6 years before that. I mean, I almost never see her. I saw her from 2003 to 2000 to today. I saw her twice. So in 20 years, I saw her twice. Twice. If I'm not wrong, it's twice. She once had an LOA. She came to Switzerland. And then she was here in Copenhagen for the Copenhagen Ideal Org opening. So I saw her, but she was working. So we didn't spend time together, which was, hey, hi. So she was supposed to go to the wedding. And okay, we had the flight book and everything. There was some problem with the flight. At the end, was the wrong email address entered. So that's why she never got the flight ticket. But then she calls me like a week before the wedding, and she's like, you know, I can't come. I got an eye infection. The doctor said I can't fly. My eyes all messed up. I have to wear glasses and all that. And deep inside, I was like, what a fucking bullshit story. But I couldn't say that to her. I you know, it's not difficult to find out when they're lying, those robots. And it broke my heart because I really wanted to see her. And she never met my wife. She never met my son. Nothing. So, and I was like, okay, it's really messed up. Okay, let's get this flight ticket refunded then. And then I was like, but, and I was thinking, you know, also the family of my wife are not Scientologists. And it was like, okay, they were expecting you to come. They never met you. They heard about you. I mean, could you send me a picture of your eye just to, you know, like, just to make sure no stories get invented here so we don't create any bad PR situations? And she's like, oh, yeah, I can do that. Let me figure out. I get back to you. And like, you know, the doctor note, she said she had a doctor note that she couldn't fly. I'm like, since when do you go to the doctor? I didn't say that. Like, she had a doctor note, I have to take this medication, I cannot fly. And I was like, yeah, take a picture of the doctor note, or like a picture of your eye, you could just, yeah, I'll figure it out. A few days go by and she doesn't do nothing. And then I kind of nudge her for it. I ask her, we call again because we have to sort out this flight business. It has to be refunded. And it's like not working because she never got the actual flight because it was the wrong email address. We found out later. And when I asked her again, she then suddenly switched. She was like, but I think this is bullshit that you're asking me this. And why should I show you? And she went into this whole robotic, like, self-protection. And that just killed me. I was like, oh my God. Here's the robot talking, and it's not my sister talking. And I basically lost her from there. And it was hard for me because deep inside I was angry. Yeah, it was difficult. And then
Do you remember the conversations that you and I had leading up to this?
Yes.
And now I remember, a moment ago I said I forgot there was another sister. I had a false memory of our conversations. I thought we were talking about Corinne coming to your wedding, but it was your Seorg sister that we were talking about coming to your wedding. Yes. And I said to you, there's no fucking way she's coming. And you're like, like, we've got the flight. She said she's coming. And then you called me and you're like, she says her eye is infected. Now, you were so clever to ask for that photo, not because not saying you didn't believe her, but saying, I've got to, my wife's parents are going to, think you no-showed to my wedding. Like, that was very clever of you.
That was honest. That was also honest. Because the parents are educated about Scientology and they know how highly controlled they are.
Oh.
They know. And they are very respectful. They're very nice. With the few times they met with my mother, they're very nice. They understand that this is her world. She thinks one way, and let's not poke any bags there. But yeah, I just was pissed inside of me, and I was like, okay, at least prove it to me, because I know it's bullshit. But I didn't say that to her like that.
Right. So, was that the last time you spoke to her?
Yeah. And then I write emails to her, trying to reach her, asking her what's going on, why is she not answering? Nothing. I tried to confront my mom about it. She called me, she calls me, she's good, yeah. She's like putting on the rug. She doesn't want to tell me the truth. My mom is being a bit more PR with me, but at least she comes and sees my son a bit, 20 minutes on a Saturday morning when she has a CSP.
The difference is that your sister's working at an int level org, yes, and your mom's not.
Yes. Right. And she is very close to miscarriage, and you know how paranoid he is.
Right.
Yep. And she's very important to do for the work. There's no way. It's so difficult for her to take a day off.
Oh, I mean, if someone wasn't there to Photoshop David Miscavige's hair, the entire world would fall apart. I mean, it might put this entire sector of the galaxy at risk.
Yes.
Okay, so what that was about a year ago?
A year ago, yeah. September 2021.
And your mom's still been in touch with you?
Sorry, 2 years.
20.
No, it was 2022. Damn, I'm so blank right now. No, it was last year. 2022. I got married in 2022.
It's all those overts.
It was last year.
So if your mom's still been coming to see you and your son and your wife every now and then, has something escalated recently?
So, no, but this was like now before April. Then after April, she came, I think, once or twice, and then nothing. So May, June, July, August, September, October, November, nothing. And I try to. I hear the rumors. Okay, I'm getting declared, and my best friend Nico, the one I mentioned in the Instagram post, he was confronted to disconnect from me because his father is in Flag doing his OT levels and he can continue because his son is connected to me. And Nico is not really a Scientologist. He's in both worlds, but he's not studying. He's not doing the bridge. He doesn't care. Like, do what you want. And I'm like, why the hell do you have to disconnect from me, from you, Father? Like, first of all, it's super weird. My aunt is on OT7. Why isn't she contacting me to disconnect? Because she cannot continue OT7. Maybe she's finished OT7. I don't know. You know Josette Chiquet?
No.
She's the sister of my father. She was a class 9 auditor in Flag. She spent her she was 11 years or 12 years on the RPF.
Wow.
She came out in 2009 or 10 when I was out with my father, and she came also to where my father lives. You wouldn't believe her behaviors. She couldn't stay still. Like, we would finish eating dinner together, and she would stand up and she would run, take all the plates, and she just couldn't. She just runs all the time. This was from the RPF. She was 11, 12 years of RPF, and it took her a long time to. I was super shocked about that. Yeah. She was in a cave. Like, she didn't know what the internet was. She didn't know a lot of things. I had to teach her how to use a tablet, how to use YouTube, how to. Yeah. Anyways, what was I saying before?
Well, your own aunt isn't forced to disconnect from you to keep doing her bridge, but your friend's father is forced to either disconnect from his son or your son disconnect from you until he can do bridge.
Yes. And not to say anything bad, but the relationship between his father and Nico is not like the best relationship. It's not a very tight. It's his father. They have a relationship. Don't get me wrong, but it's nothing tight. So it's even more weird. So that's how I got to find out. So, okay, he has to disconnect from me. And then my mom stops talking to me, stops answering messages, stops answering my calls. She always answers my calls. I have a phone number. I have a phone number that goes to her desk. And I'm like, okay, something is up. And then I hear the rumors. Okay, I'm getting declared. I'm like, okay, makes sense. I mean, the signs are all there. Corinne unfollowed me on Instagram, Facebook, on social networks.
Without ever telling you why, or you're in trouble, or something's happening?
No. My wife found out. I never care who follows me. And so my wife tells me, by the way, just so you know, I checked and your sister doesn't follow you anymore on your socials. I'm like, okay, all right. So then I try to confront my mom about it. I go to OSH, I ask for her. She's not there. She won't tell me where she is. I call. She never answers. She has a personal tablet with WhatsApp on it. And we used to write. We could write there. And I would send pictures of my son to her and, family stuff, And then she doesn't reply there. She sees the messages after some weeks, but she doesn't reply. Okay, shit is going down. My brother, Cherry, comes to Copenhagen for a visit, and we decided to go to AOSH to go and see her. And we are confronted by the ethics officer there and said, no, she's not here. She's on a special project. And he wouldn't give more information. And I'm like, okay, can you give her a message to call us? We tried. There's nothing happening here. Of course, he was hiding her. He was not being honest. And I was like, okay, you motherfuckers. You're just basically breaking up a family here.
How long ago was that you and Terry went to AOSH?
Was it beginning of October? Yeah. Was
so like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then I tried to call Oza. She never answered me, of course. I'm like, I found out that she's showing my emails to people around that I'm getting declared this guy is disaffected, blah, 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 blah. I don't know how much of the emails she's showing. I don't think she can show the whole thing. But so Oza created this. So Oza kind of forced my hand here, and I'm just, I couldn't stand for it. I don't agree with it. And in some ways, they had a blackmail over me. They had some control for my family, and I knew it. I didn't like it. But I wanted my grandson and my mom to at least have a type of relationship. But now they forced my hand. They basically decided to pull the trigger themselves. I'm like, if I don't have my family anymore, what am I holding on to? I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to say what's true. I'm just going to expose what they're doing. And I'm an example of a kid that comes from 2 OT7 parents. And I grew up fucked up. There's always worst stories in the world. I'm not the worst, but I'm just saying it's not right. And this is an organization that pretends that they have all the technology, they support families, and all that. That's just not the case. Priority number one is Scientology. Has always
In
been.
your opinion, why now?
Don't know. I asked myself that question. I don't know. It's a good question because Oza already knew where I stood. Oza knew damn well where I stood. Or maybe she was so busy that she forgot about it. And you know how it is in the Sea Org. You just bombarded with things and then you forget. I don't know, but I don't know. There's something that maybe triggered it a little bit. My mom called me I was on my honeymoon actually, and she called me. And she's like, "Did this guy on Facebook contact you to ask you about Scientology and stuff?" And I'm like, "No, but like, what does it matter? Like, yeah, but if he does, you don't talk to him, huh?" And I'm like, "What if I talk to him? What's wrong with it? If I have to say it's true, what's wrong with that?" And I think she took that the wrong way. And I think then she went back to Oza and like, okay, maybe we need to talk. We need to handle him. I don't know. I know that this business with my friend Nico that had to disconnect from me, it's because my mother wrote a report that Nico is my best friend. I don't know what report. I don't know why. It's just that Nico found out because he was like, "Hey, what the hell is this? Where is this coming from?" He found out from the DSA when he had to go and meet him about me. He said that apparently my mom wrote a report and his name, Nico, was mentioned in the report. And that's why the father couldn't continue his OT levels in Flag.
Wow. The guy on Facebook wasn't me, was it?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
She didn't want to tell me the name.
Oh.
She just said, "Did somebody contact you on Facebook?" I was like, "No." Fuck do you care anyway? Sorry for my language.
Oh, that's okay. This is a curse-friendly zone. Absolutely incredible. It's weird. You would think that a shrinking, failing organization would do everything it can to keep members, not continue to do everything it can to push people away and to destroy families. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But you know what? I think about it often and I'm like, damn, they're still alive. That's impressive. I'm like, damn, like you guys are still alive. I mean, even though you guys shrinking and it's getting smaller and people are leaving and more exposures are happening, you got to give credit that these idiots are still alive though. Even though they're shooting themselves in the foot, right, left, center. They're lying. I mean, if you look at the Danny Masterson case, I mean, they're lying hardcore. And like, yeah, and then just so many upfront lies. It's right there. Every Scientologist knows the ethics books. Every Scientologist knows this is a lie. Everybody knows there's disconnection, that you cannot report somebody to authorities. It's not even a question. This is like ingrained in you.
Everybody knows. Just like when Tommy Davis went on CNN and said there's no such thing as disconnection, that pissed off a lot of Scientologists. I have to wonder how many Scientologists are actually pissed off to hear them say, it's not true, you're not allowed to report people to the authorities. Like everyone knows that's true. To hear Scientology lie like that.
Acceptable truth. They call it an acceptable truth. You give some truth to it, but it's not the real truth. Because technically, you're allowed to. You're just going to get declared, lose your family, lose everything in your life, and get worldly. So, it's an acceptable truth, but that's not the reality.
Yeah.
And I think you have made enough videos proving that point.
Yeah. Guys, if you're one of the 1,900 people watching live right now, please do us a favor and hit that like button. I know it seems silly, but it actually does help the YouTube algorithm. So, go ahead. Well, you just come across, I mean, honestly, as one of the most level-headed, one of the most rational, one of the most kindest people.
Thanks.
And it's just incredible to see them treat you this way.
Yeah. They're following policy.
Is this something that you thought would never actually occur?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the policies. I've seen other people being disconnected. I know it goes. Look at my Lara and her father, disconnected, taken away. He never got to see her since she was 10, 11. I don't remember exactly when. We by the way, me and Cherry found him and we tracked him down and we went to talk to him.
Her father?
Yeah. We did that, what is it, 2 years ago? Yeah.
How did that go?
We wanted to hear his side of the story. We wanted to hear his side of the story because the story from my mom is like he joined the Swivels and he cheated on her. That was the story. And we were just so curious also, like, okay, we never met this guy. So we finally met him. And he's a very, very kind old man that is very, 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 very hurt by what Scientology has done to him, taking away his daughter. And he said that he didn't join the Scribbles, actually. That was a lie. He had a friend that joined the Scribbles, and he just didn't want to disconnect from him. He did his OT levels. He's still kind of a believer in the tech. He says it helped him. And that's fine. I mean, that's his thing. That's his.
Well, then he did join this. Then he did join the Squirrels.
He didn't do anything. He did
No, but
all his
he
OT
did
levels
his OT.
officially.
He did his OT levels outside of the church or in the church?
In the church.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood.
No.
I'm sorry.
No. He did them all before all that.
I see.
Yeah. And we had a lot of questions, and he was so happy that we reached out to him. You couldn't believe it. He was super happy. He knew about us. But we didn't know much more than that. And he showed us pictures, and he has videos of my sister when she was a kid. And he's an artist. He's a writer. He was a teacher for music. He played piano. He plays instrument. He was teaching my sister to play piano and being music. My sister Lara is a great artist. She's a fantastic artist. She draws amazingly since very young. She draws like amazing pictures. That's how she ended up in SMP. Doing Photoshop, not drawing.
Wow.
But
I haven't had an opportunity to tell the audience, but I mean, you take amazing photos. I mean, I know you read in your post that you're a professional photographer now, but guys, I've linked to Cyril's Instagram account in the description down below where you can see his Instagram profile. So is that how you earn a living? You're a professional photographer?
Yeah. So yeah, mainly in the real estate business. That's where I make the money. But yes, I'm a freelance photographer here in Copenhagen.
Somewhat change the subject briefly. AOSH UK in Copenhagen, Denmark. I'm sorry, EU. AOSH. Not many people understand that actually Copenhagen, Denmark is the European headquarters for Scientology.
That's right. For
live
management
right there
and for the service.
Yeah, you live right there.
Yeah.
You went in there just a handful of weeks ago to try to see your mother. Yeah. Is there any evidence of a thriving Scientology community in Copenhagen?
No. I have my own opinions. They might be a bit harsh. I don't know how to say this, but I walked there a few times. Also, when I still had connection with my mother, because during COVID they were like locked down, gloves, mask forever. And like Denmark was like long finished with COVID, and these guys were still going on for like a year, 2 years, hardcore. And I was like, God damn it, guys, come on. This is another thing. Like these guys are like technology, PTS. But if you're not PTS, then why do you have to have gloves and mask? And you wouldn't get sick if you're not PTS. Why don't you believe your own tech, you know? And they were the most paranoid, like doing, what's it called?
The Decon 7
everywhere, every day. You know, it's not healthy, this stuff. And like, there's so many crazy things happening. And like, you guys are paranoid, and you're supposed to be the ones that have the tech. The whole Denmark was open, and everybody was like, go. And these guys were still in masks and gloves and paranoid, measuring everybody coming in.
It's weird, right? Like there's no explanation for it.
No. Well, there is one.
Go ahead. What is it?
The one little guy is paranoid.
You know, I'm in touch with someone who has the written order that all Sea Org members are to be held in solitary confinement until they agree to get the vaccine.
My sister called me one day and she's like, "Oh, I got vaccinated by Johnson & Johnson." I'm like, "You did?" Yeah. It's really good. This one doesn't have so much bullshit inside, and yeah. And I'm like, "You guys are not usually pro-vaccine. What's going on?" No, but we did. Doesn't make sense. I found out later why she had to.
Because she told you it was an order, that it was mandatory?
She never confirmed that to me. It was told that everybody had to get vaccinated, especially working at S&P close to him.
Yeah. So what were your opinions? You can tell me. I won't tell anyone. You said I have some strong opinions.
The people, so there are always new people. You will always catch some new people. There's always, but for an organization that was super successful in the 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, to what it is today, I mean, I give this stupid example. There's more Teslas out there in the street than Scientologists. And Tesla is not doing any marketing, and it's an expensive car, and yet people have them. So how come Scientology is not growing? If it was really what it said it was, it would be the shit. It would be like, it would be the thing. I mean, Tom Cruise has reached 1 billion people, blah, blah, blah. Where are those billion people? Where are they? The people that I see in the orgs, when I walk there, and I don't know if it's a qualified opinion because I'm not there 24 hours, but they're all the same people. And I don't like the word DB because it's a very ugly word, but those are people that are maybe not the brightest, in my opinion. Yeah.
I keep forgetting that Copenhagen has a class 5 org in addition to a Sea Org org.
Yes.
Your mom works at the Sea Org, at the AO, right? The AOSH?
That's right.
How far away is the Copenhagen org from the AOSH?
5 minutes walk.
Is that right?
Yeah. So the Copenhagen org, it's called DK org for Denmark. They are located in the walking street, literally beside the walking street, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the biggest walking street of Europe. So it's where all the shops are. It's a very high, busy street, and they have an org right beside, literally in front of where the judge, what's the word again? Jurisdictional building is, and so like
as far as orgs go, you couldn't hope for a better location.
You cannot.
And Miscavige says Scientology. Miscavige says that since the golden age of Tech 2, so that's 2014. Since 2014, Scientology has expanded like 60x or some shit like this. And yet Denmark org, who's been there for generations, in the best location ever, is
empty. They opened the org in this ideal org was open in 2016, I think.
And was it a new building or a refurbishment of the existing building?
They bought it, renovated it, and then moved in. Before that, they were somewhere else. Okay. Not too far away, but they were somewhere else, somewhere more little.
I got it. So the new building is...
I walk there often, and there's nobody there. There's nobody there. Sometimes they try to do a test center. I even know that there's a few years ago, I even found out that they were hiring non-Scientologists to work at the org. And I'm like, what? Like, yeah.
That usually lasts until it's time to get paid for the first time.
Yeah, I was so shocked. I was like, are people willing to work here for that kind of money? And like, yeah, the receptionist, she's we just put an announcement of a job application online, and then we do interviews, and we say, well, what we do, who we are, and they can do Scientology or not, and they work for us. And she was a receptionist, and I think she was from India. And I was just, this is so weird. I mean, for me, it was like, for me to work in Scientology, you got to be like on the same page, on the same mission, and we got to save the world. Since when are you starting to hire people that have nothing to do with Scientology? It's just a sign of decline. I don't know how it is today. I know this was about 2 or 3 years ago.
Wow. So literally, instead of They haven't even contacted you to say they're declared. It's just that
No,
all the
no, they don't do that
Scientologists and
anymore.
family members in your
Yes.
life have just ghosted you. Your mom's evading you. They're hiding her.
Yes.
She won't return
Yes.
phone calls. She won't return emails. This is Scientology, folks.
It is. They're just gonna have to mention, so I'm honest, because I stay honest. My mom did call me. What is it? 4 weeks ago? And she said, "I got all your messages. I know you're trying to reach me. I just want you to know I'm fine." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. What's going on? I don't want to talk about it. I need to make a decision. I need to be." And I'm trying to confront her on the thing. I'm like, "Yeah, but why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't you checking my side of the story? It sounds like you already made your decision." And like, I don't want to go into it. I'm going through my own tough times right now, and I don't know if she was being really honest about it. And she was just saying, "I just want to say, I'm okay. I'm here. Okay, when can we see you?" Yeah, no, trying to avoid that, just like pushing. So it was a phone call to try to calm the waters, I think, because we were showing up at the org. I was writing. I was trying to call OZA. I was trying to call the ethics officer. I was trying to call. So I think she did that to try to calm down, and they tried to suppress it and make the whole thing go away. And of course,
do you think there's any chance that she's on ride-out lines or on the decks or anything?
It crossed my mind. I thought about it, but my conclusion is no. She's too dedicated. I was even thinking maybe maybe they're going to send her uplines. Maybe they're going to send her to INT. So I'm not close to her.
Oh, they might send her to LA, but they wouldn't. I mean,
I really don't know.
Yeah.
All what I've been told is she's on a special project and that she's starting all day long.
What if she's on the executive training program? What if she's actually in Clearwater?
She would have to go to Flag, no?
That's what I'm saying.
So a little other story. Of course, all this is not. I mean, I say the story now, but it's been very heavy on my family. This because I've been thinking a lot, and I don't want to use the word depressed, but it has definitely brought down a lot of heavy weight, and it has affected our family, and it has affected a lot of things. It's also a reason why I decided to do this interview. I'm like, this is an effective blow. I'm doing their conditions. I'm not doing them, but I'm like, you guys asked for it. I'm telling my story. This is the truth. This is my side. This is, if anybody has to listen to my side of the story, here it is. My wife decided to go on her own to AOCH one day. She went to try to find my mom, and she's not a Scientologist. She never was in a SEOG, She shows up there and they're telling her the same bullshit. And she started crying in the reception because she knows it's bullshit. And she was sitting on the sofa there, and she was just losing it because there was so much tension this whole cycle that and then at one point she was in the reception, and there's this big door on the right side, and there's a big crack in it where the door closes. This is a hole you can see through, and the receptionist was behind the reception desk with the ethics officer, and suddenly she sees those two making faces towards the door and go like, and then my wife looks through the crack and she sees my mom there, and then she believes she sees my mom. She cannot be 100%, but there's a 90% chance that she saw my mom. And then she saw her walk up the stairs again. There's the staircase right there. So I believe that she is here.
Jesus. Oh, man. So much for Scientologists being able to confront and shatter suppression. She's literally running away from her family.
She's being told to run away, and she's doing it. Deep inside, I know my mom, and she is always open to talk. So for me, this is really a big shock to see her not talk, because I really believe she's being told to not talk. I think deep inside she wants to, and she's being controlled.
What about Corinne and Michelle? I call him Michelle. You guys call him DDA?
Yeah, he has two names, Didier, Michel. Michel. Because when he was in the States, when he was in Florida, because he grew up there, people couldn't say Didier, so they went by Michel. But in Switzerland, he's known as Didier.
Is Michel his middle name, or did he just make that name up?
I don't know. It's his middle name.
Oh, okay. So
I mean, I'm almost 100% sure this is his. Yeah, it is his middle name. Yes.
I'm curious whether Michelle. I don't even know if you're in touch with them, but if Michelle or Corinne, do they also claim to not be able to reach your mom, or do you happen to know if they're in touch with your mom?
They don't talk very much with my mom because it's not their mom. They have another mom.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, they are from my father's side.
Oh, is their mom in Africa?
Yes,
Ah, that's where I was getting it mixed up.
yes, she's in the Sea Org in Africa. Yeah,
So their mom's in the Sea Org, your mom's in the Sea Org.
yes.
Wow.
And basically, my mom went with my dad while he was still married with that first wife.
I got it.
So
they don't like her very much.
it's not that they don't like her very much. It's just not it's not a tight connection, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go out of my way to send you a Christmas gift. Even though my mom tries to send them sometimes her little funny gifts.
So I'm curious. So I mean, you never know which way it's going to go. Like something like this could result in now you're officially declared, and that's the final straw. Or they could be like, "Uh-oh, if we just let his mom talk to him, maybe we can smooth this over." Do you care which way it goes?
It's too late. It's too late. They will never go back after this interview.
Yeah.
This is an effective blow.
Yeah.
And I want everybody, the people that are in the bubble still. I was there. I come from there. I was being forced that way. The only thing that was holding me back was being able to talk to my family.
Mm-hmm.
You took that away from me. What do you think I have left to lose? I lost everything.
So stupid of them. They're so fucking stupid. How do you, because you think about these things the way I do, or how do you explain the stupidity or the apparent stupidity? How do you explain it?
They are chickens without heads following policies. And they believe. I have come to the conclusion that they are an extremist group. And I know it's a far-fetched word to say, but if you tell a Scientologist, hey, listen, we're going to clear the planet if you go and blow up a bus like with a suicidal bomb vest, I'm pretty sure you're going to get one to do it. If that means you're going to clear the planet. I know it makes no sense. It's a stupid analogy, but they would go far. They would go far to go on their mission because they are so dedicated in that, believing that mission. And another thing I'd like to say, it took me a while, of course, to come out of this mentality of this. I know brainwashing is a negative word for people that are in the bubble to hear it. And I remember when I read KSW #1 for the first time, I was doing an M7, so I was doing it like somebody reading beside me, so explaining every word I didn't understand because it's not an easy policy. And the conversation came up that, yeah, and people think we are brainwashed. And we were joking about it. Yeah, we're washing machines and we put our brains in the washing machines. And, I was like, I was so deep inside that even talking about being brainwashed, it's like, I'm not brainwashed. I can make a decision right now. I know what I want. And like, that's not brainwashing. Brainwashing is super deep. And you only realize what brainwashing is once you got out of it and you realized you were brainwashed. That's when you say, oh, that's brainwashing? God damn, that's deep. And it's a word you can throw around, but it's to fully understand it, you have to experience it.
So true.
Yeah, you have to experience it. And for anybody in the bubble, I would like to say that stop justifying what you observe. There's one thing in Scientology, people justify hardcore. They justify so much. They know things are wrong, but they justify it. They always have a good reason for it. It's justification. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Talking about the cadets not being taken care of. Yeah, but now it's better. Yeah, it is better now. But it's only better because you got somebody behind you giving you shit, or because it was in a newspaper, or because you got pressured. And did you ever apologize, or did you ever make up the damage for the fuck up that has happened for those kids? No.
Right.
Never.
That's right.
It's always, yeah, but it's better now. Yeah, it's better now. But still, it was fucked up. And it was not right. And you're not doing anything about that.
And every era gets to pretend that the prior eras were the bad ones and everything's fixed now until something else happens.
Yeah.
Like you've heard about the hundreds of millions of dollars of credit card fraud.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be the previous era.
Yeah, my stepmom was being charged credit cards without her authorization back in the 2000s already for small things, but still.
Yeah. And all these Scientologists who've been around for the whole time, this is like where the more brainwashing enters in, seem to, we say stop justifying it. One of the things they justify is David Miscavige has been in charge the whole time since 1986, 87, 88.
Yes.
But it's always someone else's fault for all these horrible abusive policies and practices. But he micromanages everything. Scientologists want to give him credit for everything, but then they'll believe that all the bad things are everyone else's fault. And you go, guys, you're way too smart to believe that.
Yeah.
And you're way too smart to believe that Scientology is expanding.
Yeah. Like, guys, stop justifying. Look around, open your eyes, do some critical thinking, like observe what is real for you, what is true for you, you know? Like stay by what Hubbard says. What is true for you? I can tell you, Miscavige was micromanaging LOH translations unit. He was. I was there. I had to write all the chaos because Gold was messing up all the things that they had to send to me. It was Arcom's compilation unit.
LRH
he was supposed to give me the English perfect latest version. This is the final. We have to translate all this perfect. Dude, you know how many times COB revised things that we started to translate, and no, we gotta change something. No, there's another comma there. No, that word has to be changed. It's like constant. It was never ending. And some of the package, it was supposed to send me a transcript with the CDs with all the files inside, and CDs were missing, things were missing, and every time I had to write a knowledge report, and I had to like info RTC, I had to info Gold, I had to info everybody. It was my job. And I could tell these people were not sleeping up there. Her name was Linda. I remember that. Linda from Arcoms. And at one point was somebody else. She got removed for her. And I had access to Merck, which was their kind of a telex, but a bit more advanced. I'm not sure exactly what, but only like very few people on the entire base had access to that system. And I was one of them because I had to communicate with them. And my office in TU was 1 square meters. I was in no windows. I was in a little room with 2 screens, and yeah, it's not really.
So Merck is basically sort of a direct message system, kind of between. That's how you communicated with Golden Era Productions.
Yeah, it was kind of a telex, but a bit more advanced, or maybe.
No, it was weird. So like, you know, I was on staff in this York for 15 years. I've never even seen Merck. Only CMO could use it. The CLO couldn't even use it. Only CMO and RTC could use it. And again, it was one of these things where it's like, so wait, everyone else has to use the standard communication lines, but you guys get to bypass everything with your super secret little messaging system. Now, like you said, I never questioned it. I thought it was cool as shit that there was some special system. But in retrospect, you're like, so the guys at the top are the ones who don't really have to follow the rules, but everyone else does.
Yeah, the deeper you look, the more things you'll find that doesn't make sense. But
by the way, guys, in the live chat, Merc is really short for like almost Mercury. For like, it's not MERC. I don't think it was more like. Was Merc short for Mercury?
I don't know. I was not.
I believe it was
about it.
I believe it.
But I think it was MERC. I think that was the.
But that's also short for Mercury. Like if you're spelling Mercury, that's also what it's short for. Meaning, Mercury also begins with MERC. I forget who told me that, but I don't know. That's my theory, and I'm sticking with it. What do your wife's parents think about all this?
My current wife.
Yes.
Yeah, they're brainwashed.
Is this something that you guys communicate about?
Yeah. She feels she's sorry about the situation. She feels bad for me, and she says, you know, it's how they are. Those crazy high control groups. It's how it is. Funny enough, her mother was a religious teacher at school, Italian, the Christian. But I was very nervous in the beginning when I was dating her. I'm like, God damn it, her mom is a religious teacher, and I come from Scientology. And back then, I was just on my way out still when I met her. I'm like, afraid, but they're super chill. They're very cool, very understanding. They are showing me what it is to really be a human being, even if you have different beliefs, because
Wow.
within that family, man, I gotta say this, within that family, even if you have disagreements about the religion, and there are sometimes crazy dinners where people scream the Italian way, but it's all good. Like, yeah, but this and that. Like, if one in the family talks shit about Christianity and say, yeah, but that priest, that pedophile, he raped this and it's messed up. Yeah, it's true. But you don't get kicked out of the religion now that you said that this negative thing about a priest that has been proven. And within the family, they don't like fight each other. They share their opinion, they discuss it, and then after that's done, they're all good. It's like, and for me, that was a shock when the first time I witnessed that. I was like, you guys would just like screaming at each other the Italian way, and then suddenly change subject, and it's all good. It's all good. Kisses, hugs, and it's all good. And that for me, it's like, wow, I could use some of that.
Yeah.
But Scientology is those high control groups, talk negative about it, and they'll do everything to try to stay under control.
Yeah.
Anybody in the bubble? I really want to say this. Google high control groups. Google. There's a really good documentary. No, it's not a documentary. It's an experiment. It's called the Hash experiments. It was done in a university in 1971. They basically got like 10 actors and one dude that didn't know what was happening into a room. And what they had to do on a board, they had different lines on the board. Some were shorter, some were longer, some were shorters, and everybody had to say which one's the longest. And in the beginning, the actors knew exactly what to say. In the beginning, they were saying the correct answer, and in the second round, second correct answer, and on the third round, they started saying some crazy numbers. When new picture came, new lines came, and they were saying something totally wrong, was obviously wrong. The actors were supposed to say it wrong. And on the last one was the actual real test subject, and he was confused what to say because he knew which one was the correct answer, but everybody else was saying the wrong answer, and he felt with the group pressure that he had to say what they were saying. And it's very interesting. It's on YouTube. You just go YouTube hash AAACH experiment, and you see how people fall into the group pressure. And this is what the Sea Org does. You're in a very closed environment. You're very controlled. Your information is coming only from one source, and everybody thinks the same way.
Yeah.
And you don't dare say or think otherwise. And it's crazy. Another good thing is I just saw the movie. Was it the Stanford Prison Experiment? Have you seen this movie?
I don't think I've seen it, but I've read a lot about it.
Yeah, it just shows how you can control people very easily in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
That experiment was supposed to last 2 weeks. It lasted 6 days because they went crazy. Wow. Anybody in the bubble, I really have a look at those documentaries that read about it. It's an experiment, psychological experiment of how you can control people and get them to do whatever you want.
Yeah. Your story, largely to me, because of how gentle and kind and fair you are as a person, for me is particularly striking because your mom's given everything to Scientology. You gave everything to Scientology. Your siblings have given everything to Scientology. You've never attacked them. You've never appeared in documentaries. You've never gone on the news. You've never made blog posts. You made one mild Instagram post a few years ago that honestly was nothing but a celebration of your success.
Yeah.
And despite all of that, despite trying to play nice, despite being good, they couldn't help it. They still had to destroy the family. They had to do it.
Yeah. I'm not the first, and I'm probably not the last.
For sure. Incredible. Thank you so much for having this chat with me. I'd love to talk to Thierry sometime publicly if he wants to.
Yeah, it's his call. He has to decide if he wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
There's definitely some. Yeah, it's.
I hope
It's not right.
Corinne and Michelle wake up and stop wasting their lives on this bullshit. I heard that Corinne's spouse or significant other, they're not married, isn't even a Scientologist. What? What kind of namby-pamby, panty-waist, dilettante bullshit is that?
He started the Purif, and then I don't remember what happened, but they changed the prices for the Purif.
Yeah, they
And
did.
then they were asking him to repay it. And he was like, what? I was like, no. And I think then he never went back on it. I'm you stupid also. Like you pay for a product, deliver that product. Don't change your price and then ask to be paid again. That's another thing that pisses me off in Scientology. It's like, yeah, but now we have the new tech and all the OT levels that I paid for, all the OT levels that my mom did and my dad did, they have to redo it now. But all that money, my mom had to borrow money. She went into debt to do that. She borrowed money from my grandparents that she never paid back.
I heard a story just a couple weeks ago of a guy at a European org who had finished the Purif. He took months on the Purif. Then this was in I think 2014 when they released the new Purif for the Golden Age of Tech Tour or whatever. He had just finished the Purif 2 weeks earlier. They released the new Purif at a more expensive price. They tell him he's got to redo it and he's got to pay the new price. That's so fucking stupid.
They can't help it. But it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. There will always be Scientologists doing Scientology, but it's a matter of time until the truth wins. No matter what, at the end, the truth wins. And the truth will always be what comes out as a winner. It will just take time. And one day they will find out the truth. And it's gonna be it for Scientology.
I think your son just woke up. Good timing.
He did.
Guys, thank you for joining us this evening. Cyril,
thank you very much for listening to my story. Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
everyone.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not,